What is happening, everybody? Josh here from Spawn Fly Fish, and we got a good one for you today. We are talking tying, and when we say tying at Spawn Fly Fish, we cover everything from a size 30 midge to a 7/0 jig, and we get, believe it or not, a lot of jig tires that gravitate towards a fly shop like ours with a material selection like the selection we have for all of their jig tying needs. And we get a ton of questions. We tie a lot of jigs. So we are in this discussion day in, day out. And a common question we get asked is, what is the best vise for tying jigs? So today we're gonna jump right into things. We have the LIRS Vises in front of me, and the LIRS stands for Large Iron Retention System. And when you think about jigs, that fits the bill. So in front of us right here, we're gonna start with the smaller of the two vises. We have the LIRS number 3. And this holds wire gauge up to 0.095. And that might not mean a lot to us. We don't all have wire gauge to test. But what we're going to do today is we're going to showcase everything about this vise that makes it a premier option for jig ranges that are for panfish, trout, bass, steelhead, and salmon. This is the ideal vise for you. So everything you have in a Peak Vise that you come to love, a sturdy base is fundamental to tying a quality jig. So the bases on these vises are awesome. They're really heavy, and they're going to lay a foundation that's perfect for tying jigs. As we move up the shaft, we'll see that we have this rotary function that we've also come to love in many of the Peak Vises that you might already have a little experience with. If you don't and you haven't been tying on a rotary function, this is going to allow you to wrap feathers, wrap chenilles, and everything else that you might be interested in looking at or adding to your jig tying arsenal. As we move down to the head of the vise, this might look a little bit different for many of you. So the LIRS system has a different jaw. In fact, they don't even call it a jaw. It is called a nest. So the nest is where you're going to insert the jig or the hook, and this has a bar that is going to pull tight to the hook and seat it into a nice groove that allows you as much room to tie and create those perfect jigs. So the hook the jig that I just took out of the vise, and I'll place back in, so you pull that jaw out and you'll tighten it down as it seats perfectly. This is a 1/64. So as you can see, this is pretty small. And this is why we kind of lean away from this style of vise for many of the fly tying that we offer. But for jigs, this is perfect. So this 1/64 ounce is about as small as we'd go. For me, I don't know the size of the hook on this, but this looks to be about a size 10. So as we move up in the world of hooks and jigs, we're going to slip in a 1/8 ounce jig and secure it down there. And as you can see, fits perfectly. So this is going to cater to a lot of crappie jig tires, a lot of bass jig tires, some trout jig tires. And then as we move up, we undo that and we slip in a 3/0 owner with 1/2 ounce jig head here. This is going to cater to your salmon, your steelhead. And as you can see, this is a really secure platform for all of those needs. So this is going to be a huge range. This vise itself is going to cover most of your standard jig tying. It is a phenomenal option for those of you that are looking for a jaw that fits a huge range of hooks and a vise that is going to be stable to tie jigs on. One thing to keep in mind, as you use the rotary function, depending on the weight of the jig head, and we'll showcase this on the larger series, when you do use the rotary function, if you're unfamiliar with the rotary function as jig tire, be sure that you hold the dial as you turn around, because if you think about a jig head, it's going to want to pull it and it's going to drop faster. So make sure you have tension on it the entire time throughout the rotation. Now we are shifting over to the big Kahuna. This is the LIRS 2. They actually have a larger vise called the Jurassic, but this one's going to get it done for you across the board. As you can see, we're slipping in here a little jig head. Oop, didn't have it securely fastened there. This is a 4/0 jig that we use for rockfish here in the Pacific Northwest. Perfect platform you tie on. It took the grub off of it, and a lot of people are gravitating to tying across the board. Whether it's striped bass or it's rockfish and lingcod, there is a plethora of things that you can tie for, and this system right in front of us is going to allow you to tie in an exceptional fashion. So we have the same sort of setup, but everything's beefed up from the base to the nest to the jaw here. Everything is bigger. So you still have all the functions that you like, the rotary function, and this will fit up to a 0.134 wire gauge. What does that mean? It means it's big. So here we have a 7-ounce jig head. Loosen that up, seat it right there in the curve, tighten it down. This base itself on this LIRS 2 is going to allow you the correct platform to tie these large style jigs. So if you think about the base that you're setting up here or the foundation that you're setting up here to be successful in the vise, this is going to allow you to do everything that is big game for jigs. And we like to talk about jigs a lot here because we offer a massive selection from bucktails to marabou to legs to rabbit. Everything that jig tiers need is here at Spawn Fly Fish. And we're really excited to showcase everything that we have to offer and really hone in your skills. Again, whether you're tying a size 30 midge or you're tying a 7-ounce jig head, at Spawn Fly Fish, we talk all things tying, and I hope that you guys learned a little bit about these two vices. And if you would do so, be sure to hit like, be sure to hit subscribe, and both these vices are live at spawnflyfish.com.